I didn't complete coverage. Join there.
And we're live. And Michael, if you could, we'll probably start with needing to show items. When we're ready. Okay. The specifics in case there are questions. Okay, you guys ready? Okay. Good evening. We'll call to order the regular monthly meeting of the City of Helotes Planning and Zoning Commission. It is August the 6th at 7:02. I'd ask the commission secretary to call the roll, please.
Greg Michelle.
Here.
Jason Whiteman. Here. Buck Russell.
Here.
And
And we have Michael Lauder from council, from staff, and Sabrina McGowan's here from council. All right, our first item tonight is a public hearing to give all interested persons the right to appear and be heard on a request by AP Architects for a specific use permit authorizing a drive-through facility for Las Palapas, a restaurant specializing in authentic Mexican food to be located at 14924 Sneak Loop Road, Helotes 78023. As a public hearing, we invite comment from citizens. We ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. It is a time for you to share your views with us. It's not a Q&A. And we ask that you direct your comments this way as opposed to the audience. And I'll ask you also to, when you come up, to please just identify yourself and your address. So we'll open the public hearing at 7:03, and I have one person signed up to speak. It looks like it says Reardon. Is that correct?
Yeah.
If you could come on up and just tell us your full name and address, and the floor is yours.
My name is Christopher Reardon. I'm with the Helotes Lions Club. The address is 14690 Bandera Road.
Good.
Our concerns with the drive-through facility is one, the traffic flow going in and out. If on the land that's presently annotated on the map that was provided, if that's significant traffic flow for a drive-through facility as well as the restaurant itself. The other things are with the creation of that property, we have concerns and objections to, will it affect the flood zone and the drainage and the customer or the other people who are downstream from that or even upstream. There's also concerns of the protected or heritage trees. And then what will that affect our well? Because the edge of their property is right near our well where they're wanting to put their drive-through facilities. So those were the 4 items that we had concerns of.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We don't have anyone else signed up to speak, but is there anyone here who wished to speak to this item in the public hearing? Good evening. Just tell us your name and address.
My name
please.
is Rodney Touch. I live at 14829 Old Scenic Loop Road. Our concern is at the end of the property where it joins Old Scenic Loop Road, is there going to be an exit there for the restaurant? If it is, what's Helotes going to do to fix Old Scenic Loop Road to accept 2 cars? And then we got a trash truck that turns around down there. So I don't know how if they close it off, how he's going to get back out. And then of course the drainage and the well problem. All righty.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else this evening? Okay, we will please come on up.
My name is William Hogan, live at 14988 Scenic Loop Road. That's right next door. One of my concerns is drainage from the property. There's a culvert that crosses the street and goes down the property line of this proposed development. It seems to me when QT owned it, they granted an easement along that property line all the way back to almost Helotes Creek. I want to say it was a drainage easement, but it's been well over a year, and I don't know how to go back and find it with all the different proposals. The Bandera Ranch development, as it's evidently changed engineering firms, I'm not sure how all that's going to tie in, but that The culvert drains on our property, which is right next to this easement. It says access easement right now on this proposal here. Also, my wife's a little concerned about maybe they need a fence or a structure along the property line for noise abatement. I know some of the Las Palapas are open 24 hours. And we don't really want to hear the intercom from the drive-through going at 4 a.m, stuff like that. Drainage is my biggest concern, though. I haven't seen anything on the stuff put on the website that addresses the drainage yet. I'm sure the engineering firm has something, but I don't see it. I don't understand how that's going to work. If that could be addressed, I'd be happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak on this public hearing? Okay, we'll close the public hearing at 7:09. Move to the next item, which is citizens to be heard. Michael, we don't have anyone signed up for citizens, correct?
No, sir.
All right, so item 5 tonight is discussion and action on the minutes of the regular meeting of Planning and Zoning, July 2nd, 2024. These were in our materials. If there are any corrections or edits, please bring that to our attention, or we can have a motion.
I'll do the motion.
Please.
I move to approve the minutes as written of the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission dated July 2nd, 2024.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Buck. All in favor of approving the minutes as submitted for the July 2nd, 2024 meeting, please signal aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Thank you. Move to item 6 tonight, and I will read the relevant part of the caption. We can do the whole thing when we have a motion, but the item tonight is discussion and action on a preliminary and final plat pursuant to Code of Ordinances, Chapter 78, subdivisions, establishing the replat of O'Connor High School, Kuntz Elementary School, and Rhodes Bus Station subdivision. Michael, we have materials in our packet. Is there anything staff would like to bring to our attention?
No, sir, other than the reason for the replat is that they had several lots. And so they combined lots because of the agricultural, the magnet school that's going to O'Connor. So some of those new buildings will be crossing lot lines, so it's best for them to replat.
And is there a representative here tonight if there are questions? Okay, if we have questions, thank you. And Michael, if you would move to the plat itself, maybe just in case there are questions. I'd open the floor to the commission for comments or questions on this replat. Buck.
No, I'm just glad they're bringing it to educate our children in the future.
This is one question, one point of clarification. The
Come on up.
South Platte, sheet 1, is that, I guess that's the bus depot?
You could just put your name and business address on record.
John Zalfo with KCI. You said lot 1, lot 3 or lot 1?
Lot 1.
Lot 1 is O'Connor High.
So lot 2 is a bus yard.
Lot 2 is the elementary school and lot 3 is the bus.
Okay, sorry.
New buildings, as he's indicated, will lot.
Well, the current building that's getting built right now, they don't, but like Michael said, in case future, they want to make it all just one plot in case it's all their property, they want to build something in between.
And any questions?
No, I have no questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And this is, Michael, this is a recommendation item, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if someone would be bold enough to do the whole caption for us. That would be Sure, appreciate it. Go ahead, Jason.
I will make a motion to recommend approval of discussion of an action on a preliminary and final plat pursuant to Municipal Code of Ordinances, Chapter 78 subdivisions, establishing replat of O'Connor High School, Coons Elementary School, and Rhodes Bus Station subdivision, being 157.652 acres, CB 4480B, Block 1, Lot 1 of 4, CB 4480, P6C, ABS 647, B 4480, P-6A, ABS 647, CB 4480, P-7, ABS 647, CB 4480, CB 4480A, Block 1, Lot CB 4480B, Block 1, Lot 7, and CB 4480B, Block 201, Lot 6. Tracks described in deed reported in volume 4, 7-2, pages 808 through 811. Deed records of Bear County, Texas, and that 1.117 acre tract described in a deed reported in volume 6912, page 2028. Official public records of Bear County, Texas.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion, Jason or Ann,
No.
or anyone else? Okay, so the motion, which I will read in short, is to recommend, you did put it as a recommend, right?
Recommend, yes.
Recommend preliminary and final plats pursuant to Code of Ordinances, Chapter 78 subdivisions establishing the replat of O'Connor High School, Elementary School, and Rhodes Bus Station subdivision. All in favor of the motion, please signal aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved and it will go to City Council for final action. Michael, what is the date of that meeting?
This one's gonna be on the 22nd.
Of August,
August.
August 22nd. Thank you. Our next item tonight is discussion and action on a request by AP Architects LLC for approval of a specific use permit authorizing a drive-through facility for Las Palapas, a Mexican restaurant specializing in authentic Mexican food, to be located at 14924 Scenic Loop Road, Helotes, on property zone Neighborhood Service District B2, and identified as BCAT property ID 1395816. Does staff have anything by way of introduction on the item?
No, sir.
And is there a representative of the applicant here tonight if there are questions? Good to see you again. So tell us your name and business address for the record.
Alvin Peters, 1016 State Highway 46 East Bernie.
All right, let me open it up to the commission for comments and questions regarding this item. Michael, thank you. Bring that up. Angela?
Sure. Yeah, I have a question. I think when you were last before us, you were talking about how this restaurant was modeling the Petrenko one. Is that correct?
The floor plan is the same. It's the same owner. It's Brett Bradford. He owns Bernie. He owns Petrenko was the latest one we opened. Small. It's a medium-sized Las Palapas. They have 3 prototypes.
Okay, and is that in a neighborhood service district?
That's in Bear County in the ETJ, City of San Antonio. So no zoning. Yeah.
So I think my problem with this is, I think the specific use permit is there to give some flexibility to the traditional zoning. So I'm looking at the analysis, if it's going to be a special use, a specific use permit and granting that as to the necessity versus the impact. And so I'm thinking, do we need a drive-through? And if we really needed one, would that outweigh the impact on the traffic and everything else? So I was out there the other day and that traffic's pretty heavy coming down Scenic Loop because it's only one lane each way.
Right. And I don't know the plans for that road. I would imagine there's something coming just because the apartments across the street and the retail have their traffic impact analysis shows 153 cars at peak hours. where this project is 63 hours. So I don't know. We've asked if there's any plans for improvements on scenic loop. I just don't know. I haven't.
And see, I think that's the problem we've been facing is that we're increasing the traffic without the plan already expanding.
Yeah.
And so that's my concern about safety. I think we talked a little bit about it when we approved the initial plan, because of course, at that time, we didn't approve the drive-through because
Right.
you just kind of set it up. If the drive-through gets improved, this is what it would look like.
Right.
But I'm having a problem with that drive-through. And, you know, this is a different location than your other Las Plapas to me, because it's more of a neighborhood. And so it's can't really be the same as the one on Houseman or elsewhere. So I'm kind of struggling with that. I didn't know if you had any comments that would clarify that, but.
Well, yeah, I'd have to look at each at the different sites. I know Connor is surrounded by apartments. You know, it's a different type of neighborhood, and but I'd have to look at the other sites. Yeah, no, but there are things. I know there was mention earlier by one gentleman up here about the hours of operation, and I'd have to check. I can verify. Brett Bradford, none of his restaurants are open past midnight. I think I can find out when they close. The noise from the drive-through, the speakers, they can be modulated down. We've done other facilities, not this flavor of restaurant, in Cibolo, where we just dial down the volume quite a bit. Most likely, and I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you, on the property, Michael, maybe you can tell me, to the north of the site, is that all residential? It's single family homes, if I remember right. If it is single family homes, zoning would require a 6-foot fence, and typically we would do that out of wood. So, you know, it'll be higher than the cars. So that'll help block a lot of the noise. But I will verify the hours of operation. I will verify the fence along that property line.
I guess my concern is you have your model restaurant.
Right.
But, you know, that model is not going to fit in this neighborhood, in my opinion, just because it's a little different. And I just didn't know if y'all had thought about that, or you had any concessions to make, because we do have that old scenic road on that side that does not have an outlet either. And some of the concerns, I mean, there's
the one
It's
at the rear of the property, to the right, is that what you're talking about?
yeah, and somebody mentioned they have to turn around to get out of it. There's no outlet.
We're not developing the park. There'll be no parking. There may be 2 or 3 spaces in the 100-year flood. I think last time I was here, I brought a plan. The plan we have is a little bit different. We've decided not to develop that part in the 100-year flood. So it should save, and I won't have the master tree preservation plan updated to maybe Wednesday, maybe tomorrow, from the landscape architect. We should reduce the removal of trees by, I don't know, maybe 100, 150 inches. We're just not going to touch it. It was going to cost a lot, and we were just trying to see what benefits that was going to be. So yeah, there's 2 ways into the property. Both of them are through irrevocable ingress egress access easements that are shared with QT. So one exit on the scenic loop, then one exit on the Bandera. So we were told in preliminary meetings with City of Helotes, if we exited out onto, I think it's a gravel road, a dirt road, not a real good road, to the right of the property. I think that's to the maybe east. We'd have to repair that road up to Bandera, and that was just going to cost too much. So we've eliminated that from the plans.
May open up to others' comments or questions. Buck?
I know at the last time Commissioner Blue, he talked about where the parking is that the dine-in guests would have to walk through the queue for the vehicles at the drive-through. I know. And, you know, listening back to your comments, that is definitely something that, you know, we really have to take into consideration it's definitely a safety hazard. Putting people and vehicles out and walking, it would be an uphill walk, mostly with little ones. So that is definitely a concern of having a drive through, is that we're funneling those vehicles there and we're putting people in between them. And it's a darker area. I know you'll have lighting and everything else compliant with code, but it's still a darker area of the city. I know you addressed some of the issues that were brought up by the citizens. The water well, I know nothing about the water wells and how we can work to protect their water wells.
Is there a water well on the
That's what the
property?
gentleman stated.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, we can find out typically, if we find a water well. I'd have to look at the survey. I don't know who.
So let me just interject here that while that is an important issue, that this is a drive-through issue that we're dealing
Okay,
with tonight.
okay,
So
okay.
I want to keep us focused.
I'll look into it. I don't.
And encourage you to talk.
Typically, we cap them. SAWS makes us cap them if they got jurisdiction. I don't know who the water purveyor is out here. Our TCQ will ask us to, and I don't see any reason why. Just to quickly answer, we don't have any wells on any site. We
Let me ask you to
buy
take that
water.
up with staff later.
Yeah, right.
Thank you. And that's it, just the concern, that was brought up, at the last meeting about the walking, the pedestrians, through the traffic and stuff.
Well, what I will tell you is every single restaurant I work on, you walk through a parking lot. Unless the drive-through is at the rear of the property and there's nothing back there. This drive-through is at the rear of the property. Behind the drive-through is only, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 11. 11 parking spaces out of a total of 43. The bulk of the parking is at the front of the property. And they're going to be, I mean, there's drives all over parking lots. You got to negotiate it as a child and as an adult. If you're a child, typically someone's holding your hand. But, I think every restaurant I've ever worked with, it's an issue. You walk across the parking lot. But we have never had an incident since I've been working for Las Palapas with someone being injured.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Questions? Alex, anything?
I guess my question is more of a comment, I guess, is that these are issues that we kind of think about. Unfortunately, some of these are being driven more by the shape of the property and not necessarily by the design of the building. This property is probably a lot narrower than some of the others that you keep referencing, and some of those that are owned by a different franchisor of the Las Palapas. So it's narrow, which forces your parking to be a little behind instead of beside. And it also causes that same situation with the ingress and egress. And I guess the one question I have is, I know that you said in your comments just now, and we talked about it at the last meeting when we were doing the site plan, was the ingress and egress is both of them coming in and out through the two sides of the QT.
Right.
And yet we have this other piece of property that hasn't been a part of the site plan that is between your location and the Lions Club, which seems to be in that gray area of what's eventually going to happen to it, and whether that becomes an additional source of ingress, egress, or another business. Now, I know it's not yours.
Where's the Lions Club at?
It's just down Highway 16 from.
Oh,
It's not, okay, if you know where the QT is on the corner, then you have a little vacant lot, and then you have the Lions Club. So it's just right at the creek.
okay.
And so
Okay.
there's that.
What is that? Is it
Right.
is that a store?
Used to be a veterinary clinic.
I'm sorry. Oh, vet.
Lions Club is a club organization.
Right. No, the other,
Oh, okay.
The
the
other-
other property, it's in between those two. And I guess if somebody were eventually to develop that property, would that lead into your area where the drive-through is?
I would, I'm not the civil engineer, but my guess is no, because there's no easement across that shaded, let me see. Off of Bandera Road is a piece of property. Michael, do you know how big that piece of property is that's shaded for future development? It's on the east side of QT, to the east of QT. So in order for the Lions Club lots or other lot to feed into ours, it'd have to be an ingress, egress, access easement in place. It doesn't exist. I would say no. I would say that property would have to exit onto Bandera Road somehow. They do have a drive-in. I mean, I think that serves that building. I'd have to go by honestly and look at it.
No, I'm not asking you to pass judgment on that. I'm just saying that would alter where the people would come in and out for the drive-through portion rather than having to force them to circle the building.
I've been
Adds additional. So
yeah.
I don't know. I know we've had a lot of folks that come and say, well, my intent is not to do this. My intent is not to do this. You know, the restaurant doesn't open past midnight today. But 3 years from now, there's nothing that says you got to come back to us and say, oh, we're going to open till 2.
Well,
There's nothing in the code that requires anybody, once they get approval for it, to report to us, oh, we've changed it. Can I change my hours of operation? It doesn't exist in the code. And so when we ask those questions, the answers are, this isn't my intent, but that intent changes regularly.
Yeah.
It's not your intent to finish out all the rest of the parking spaces. My answer to that, and you don't need to counter this, is until it becomes financially feasible to do so. And then it all of a sudden becomes an interesting and exciting opportunity, which may happen 3, 5, 7 years from now. And none of this conversation is going to be remembered or documented anywhere. And so I'm not asking you to pin to that. I'm just saying that sometimes just because you don't plan to do it in the next year doesn't mean that some future entity may not come in and completely alter that. And now we have a building and a drive-through and hours of operation change, lighting changes, the whole works. And I know we have a code that does require I think it's an 8-foot fence between commercial property and residential. Some of the neighbors are zoned the same, though used as residential. So that I don't know whether Michael's prepared to answer that question, whether or not they would still have to be putting up.
It would be the 8-foot fence.
An 8-foot privacy fence between them and a neighbor. And I think it's unless the neighbor is more than 300 feet away from the building.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's some of the requirements. So it would be 8-foot fence, so that you would know that would be a requirement, at least on that one side.
Michael,
That was all.
would you put up the diagram again?
That was all my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. To clarify and make sure we're all clear on the entry points and exit points for the property, the Bandera Road exit is actually through QT to Bandera Road. The scenic loop exit, that is an existing exit today, is that correct?
Both exits exist
Right.
today.
It's
Yeah.
through QT.
Well, the drive is shared by Las Palapas landowner and QT. It's,
Understood.
irrevocable ingress, egress, access easement that was granted when QT, I guess, platted or got the permit at some point in time. Yes, but that are the 2 exits.
The narrowness of the property as it exists, which has the cars circling around the building, basically doing a full circle around the building,
Mhm.
coming in, ordering, picking up the order, exiting. It's a full circle around the building, exits between the 2 businesses
Right.
onto that increasingly busy road. Now, admittedly, that's not your responsibility, the road.
Yeah.
There's other entities that deal with that, but it is one that we all have to be mindful of here. And with the increased traffic that's being put out there, and which will grow, as you commented, with the apartments, that becomes somewhat of a challenge. Do you know if, and I don't know the answer to this, are drive-throughs part of the Las Palapas plan in there?
I'm thinking,
Franchises
I think there's 18 Las Palapas franchise-wide.
Mm.
Some of the older ones may not, but the 5 new ones and probably 4 remodeled ones that I've done in Texas all have drive-throughs. If I remember correctly, it's a big part of the business. It's about 33% of the revenue stream. So it's important. And I can get you any figure you want. How much of that is
Right.
alcohol? How much of it is food? They got endless information on it. We were concerned about the TIA, but we went back and we used Helotes doesn't have a true traffic impact analysis, I guess, Excel sheet that we could use. We use City of San Antonio guidelines, which is UDC based, and I think yours is UDC based. And we were worried. We came up with an amount, 63, which isn't considered high. Usually when you exceed 76 cars at peak hours, and remember, peak hours for this type of facility is in the evenings, 6 to 7. It's not in the mornings. People are going home, they're getting something real quick for the kids or for the adults. So we wanted to verify it. So I asked corporate, I go, get me the numbers because they got cash registered, smart computers at the drive-through. What's really going through them? So it was right. We actually franchise-wide for the stores we polled, it was a little bit lower. It's 53, I believe. So our traffic impact analysis is showing a little bit more because this is a good-sized restaurant. It has a big patio area. But is that a lot? I don't know. I mean, we got 2 exits. Okay, so half goes through one, half goes the other between 6 and 7. The rest of the day, pretty quiet. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Interrupt you there. Thank you for that. And
Yeah.
I think part of the challenge for everybody here is the context that matters in balancing.
Yeah.
Whether 50 or 60 is a big number, you know, it all depends on the context, and on that 2-lane road that does have it. That does change things, and it's a significant change. I think we'll stop there. So I guess you can hold on and go around another time if there are further questions.
Maybe me.
Continue. All right, I think we're good. Sit down for just a second. If there's other questions, we'll ask you to return if you don't mind. At this point, unless there are comments or questions, this is a recommendation item. A point of clarification, Michael, regardless if this is we need to take action on both this item and the sign item. But they're separate items.
Correct.
Okay. So even if there's a negative recommendation here, we would still go forward with the sign.
Correct.
Council has the final word on all this. So I'd invite a motion at this time on item 7, which is regarding the authorization for the drive-through. We'll talk about the motion. Go from there.
Well, I can do a motion to deny the request.
Okay, go ahead. Read it out.
And, okay, so I move to deny the request by AP, no, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. I move to recommend denial of the request by AP Architects LLC for approval of a specific use permit authorizing a drive-through facility for Las Palapas, a Mexican restaurant specializing in authentic Mexican food to be located at 14924 Scenic Loop Road, Helotes, Texas, 78023, on property zoned Neighborhood Service District B2 and identified as BCAD property ID number 1395816.
Okay, is there a second for the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, discussion of the motion to recommend denial, and anything that you'd like to say to the motion?
No, just that, you know, I just do not feel comfortable with granting the specific use permit at this time.
Alex, anything?
No, sir.
Jason or Buck?
Nothing to show.
So I'm going to ask for a roll call vote on this one, Alex. The motion is to recommend denial of the request by AP Architects LLC for approval of a specific use permit authorizing a drive-through facility for Las Palapas, Mexican restaurant specializing in authentic Mexican food to be located at 14924 Scenic Loop Road, Helotes, on property zoned B2, Neighborhood Service District, identified BCAD property ID 1395816.
So a positive vote is to recommend disapproval.
Correct. Supporting the motion which is a denial motion.
And
I vote yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Buck,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well.
Okay, so that's unanimous on denial on the motion, which is to recommend denial. As I noted, this will go to city council for final determination, same date
It'll be on Thursday, the 8th.
this week.
Yes.
Okay,
So
so
public hearing and the special.
Public hearing,
Will go before city.
special
council.
use Thursday, August 8th for the final. We will move on to item 8. I want to note, I didn't see him back there, Councilman Merchant snuck in late, but he's here. Thank you for being here. Item 8 is discussion and action on a request by AP Architects LLC for approval of 2 menu board signs pursuant to Code of Ordinances, Chapter 66 signs, Section 52 miscellaneous signs, subsection B menu boards. Be located at 14924 Secret Loop Road, Helotes. Michael, anything from staff for us about these boards that you want to call to our attention?
No, sir.
And if you call them up so that folks could see where the placement is of the proposed boards, that might be helpful.
So they have a preview board and a menu board.
And I presume the second board, the menu board is where the
It's mine.
intercom would be.
Mhm.
And you guys have in your packets, the picture of the board, comments. I mean, I presume that's just a sample. It's not saying it's gonna look the contents of it, but that's basically what it is.
It's gonna be exactly.
Yeah.
I think you'll have slightly different.
So we can hear you.
Alan Peters, 1016.
Yeah, you're good.
It should, I think your requirements in this jurisdiction was a little bit smaller than other places we've done, I think by maybe 2 square feet, but we just shrunk it down. It'll look exactly like this.
Comments, questions regarding? Just verifying, Michael, there's not a landscaping requirement.
No.
Comments, questions? If not, we can have a motion. And I think one way to think about this is, if this actually does move forward, depending on council action, this is for the board, so.
Recommendation.
This is
approval.
This is approval.
Of course, conditioned on
Right, of
the
course.
specific use permit being
Right.
granted. Okay.
Feel allowed to put boards up with that.
So yeah, this is this is compliant and yeah, good if they get that.
Yep.
Okay, so let me find the,
Number 8.
do I have the right one? Okay. Okay, so I move to approve the request by AP Architects LLC for approval of the 2 menu board signs pursuant to the Municipal Code of Ordinances, Chapter 66 signs, Section 66-52 miscellaneous signs, subsection B menu boards, to be located at 14924 Scenic Loop Road, Helotes, Texas, 78023, on property zoned to Neighborhood Service District B2 and identified as BCAD, property ID number 1395816.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion of the motion.
I do have a question. Should we
We first here, well, not the motion?
About the
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, and the question is, this is an approval item, so if we approve it and council then does not approve the other, how does that affect this? Or should we put in this motion recommend approval on condition that the drive-through is approved in some fashion?
Yeah, it has to
Because
be,
if we approve signboards and then council stands on not doing the menu, on not allowing a drive-through, then technically we've approved an outdoor menu
without a
without a
drive.
drive-through. The Menu was,
But they're never gonna put the sign up without a building to go
It's
along with it. you know?
Costly.
Well, we should just
Don't know.
include, just include.
But like I said, later down the road.
I don't know that this sounds odd to say, but I don't know that the language requires there to be an approved drive-through facility in order to have a drive-through menu board. So I don't know that we actually, unless staff corrects me on this, can you make it contingent?
What I can tell you is that we wouldn't issue the sign permits.
Say again?
We wouldn't issue the sign permits
On what grounds?
if they don't have the special use permit.
Okay,
Without a drive-through.
Okay.
You won't have the drive-through
Okay.
menu signs.
Well,
Okay.
that's the case,
So
that
that's-
resolves the issue.
thank you. All right. Well, did you second that? You did, okay. It's Ann and Alex. So anything from you guys about the motion to approve? Bucker or Alex? Okay, so the motion is to approve the request by AP Architects for 2 menu board signs pursuant to code, chapter 66 signs, section 52 miscellaneous signs, subsection B menu boards to be located at 14924 Scenic Loop Road. The property is owned Neighborhood Service District B2 and identified as BCAT property ID 1395816. All in favor of the motion, please signal aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So motion is approved. Okay, thank you for being here. The last item tonight is number 9, is discussion and action on a request by the Helotes Economic Development Corporation for approval of a conceptual design plan pursuant to Code of Ordinances, Chapter 98 zoning, Article 9, architectural review by the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council for a change in exterior elevation to the Helotes Economic Development Corporation building at 12682 FM 1560 West Suites 105 and 106. That includes site plan and building design, exterior lighting, and signage with 2 variances. Michael, would you have anything beyond or in addition to what we have with us in our packet?
No, just the mention of the 2 variances, and we can kind of go through that when we look at it.
And we can treat this as one item unless there are reasons to pull out a particular component of it, and we could do it separately if
Yes.
it seems like that's worthwhile for us to consider doing. And Glenn is back here if there's questions for him. So I'd open the floor to comments or questions.
So I also included a little bit of the interior just for you guys for reference.
Yeah.
I know you're not voting on that, but I just wanted to include that for you. So you can kind of look at what the layout's gonna look like.
Thank
And then this is pretty much what it is. There is no separate component as far as like a sheet just for the sign. It's actually included in the elevation page.
So I have Glenn, if you don't mind coming up and name and address business for us.
So Glenn Goldsby, Helotes Economic Development Corporation, address is 12682 FM 1560 West, Suite 105.
Thanks. So, I mean, to me, it all looks good, but I am a little confused on the sign about whether or not there's a master sign plan. And there was a document in here saying, okay to change it. But elsewhere in the application, or maybe it was in staff notes saying, no, they don't want to change the sign plan. So I just need
So what they don't want to do is they don't want to amend the master sign plan. So basically, if EDC leaves, then they'll go back to the 3x8s.
Correct.
For
So they don't want to amend it
For everybody else.
for everybody else. They just would like to do the variance or
Correct.
request the variance just for,
105 through 106. Yes, sir.
Correct.
okay?
Okay. Glenn, could you just summarize for me why you want the variances,
Sure.
just to justify them? I like to hear that.
I think probably the 2 variances, I know one of them is just the size of the sign. So this strip center did a master sign plan, I believe that was 2002 or something like that. And when speaking with the property owner, he said he was forced to do a master sign plan at the time without honestly thinking about needs of tenants or anything like that. Previously, signs had been a varying different sizes. I think 4x8 was kind of the traditional. And when he switched, it was recommended by city council to reduce the size of the signs for all the tenants down to 3x8. I know in this particular situation, maybe a little unique, we are occupying 2 lease spaces, so that does multiply then the allowable square footage. This, obviously, we're a nonprofit kind of government agency, kind of an arm of the city of Helotes. And this piece of property is doing a couple of functions for us, right? We're ADC is going to be officed out of there. We're going to have some co-working space for rent, and we're also looking at trying to incorporate a visitor center in the entryway. So knowing the position of this property, we really want visibility from Bandera Road. I mean, there's a little over, I think, 100 feet from kind of northbound traffic. And we felt that doing the facade improvement and then having this sign, it would be legible from the street to draw attention. And I think we're only slightly over on even, it's what, 48 square feet is technically allowed, I guess, with 2 lease spaces. I think it's more that they're supposed to be 2 3x8 signs and not incorporated into one physical sign.
So the roof line being above it is for visibility.
Yes.
Okay,
And that's the second variance.
right. That's the secondary.
If I may, Mr.
Please,
Chairman,
Alex.
if I'm not mistaken, the signs on the rest of the building are also above the roof line.
There are some that are.
There are some that are, right? So
Yeah.
and that's because of the way the roof line works.
Correct.
right? So because the roof line has that kind of a short, not quite parapet wall thing, there's no really wall to put the sign on, so that's why they're on there now. So I noticed that part. I don't have a problem with that. I just know that every time we grant exceptions to government-related entities, the non-government entities can get a little bit defensive
Yeah.
about that and say, yeah, you can have a neon sign out there, but you won't let me have one. And, so
Bias.
uh,
You don't want to look.
don't want to go to the neon sign. Okay. But yeah,
Unless I
think
won't do neon.
LED sign out there. But I think it looks good, and I don't have a problem with either of the 2 variances. I just know that might get some feedback from somebody who says, you let them have it and now your neighbor. Now I want to be visible from Bandera Road as well, and they don't get to, and they have to comply. But I do know that the quick argument is you're occupying 2 spaces, which would normally allow you more space to begin with. And I think that's fine. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Welcome, Jason.
No, I was actually gonna bring up also, we, the government, get the variance, and we're not gonna allow you, the neighbor, because the dog grooming place is kind of even hid behind the tree a little bit, it's kind of a toughie, why do they get it and we don't, we definitely want to be friendly with our businesses in Helotes. Well, obviously, duh. I mean, can we cut instead of getting like the size variance, if we just got that a little bit smaller to get down to that 48, I like the sign.
But if we need to, I think we can accommodate that.
I like the sign. I think it would improve the look of this area, revamp it, bring it modern. Everything, the sign looks great. I really do. And it's definitely, the way the lighting's going to be. It's just, can we shrink it down a little? That would be my second biggest concern. Number one is just, if we do it for the government,
Well, government does have its privileges.
yes, it does, right?
There's an LED
nice.
sign out front.
If you move out though, is it going to go back to 2 spaces, or is it going to maintain 1 because of all the construction inside? And
So that would be up to either the landlord or the tenant. I know for us, we'll be responsible for taking this down because whoever comes in after will have to be compliant with the master sign plan.
okay, so it is actually physically 2 spaces you are
It is.
leasing, tore down the wall, made it one big room.
Yes, sir.
basically. Okay, all right, thanks, Glenn, appreciate it.
Anything, Jason? Glenn, as I was thinking about the other signs there, the building itself, do you happen to know the age of the building?
That I do not know.
Because that roof line, as Alex said, that there are signs that exceed, that's not unique to what you're asking for, but I think that's an old.
I would
much
assume
older
back in the
building.
80s, but
Oh, I would think even older, but I don't.
it might be.
Okay. The extra 4 square feet that puts it over, Michael, that is not within that is within our power.
8% increase, so you would.
So does that still count as a variance, or how is that?
It is, but it's a variance we can approve.
You can approve.
if it goes above the 25% larger, then it's a variance that has to go to council.
Yet the whole item is going to council as a recommendation. So I guess what happens to this one piece of it? I mean, council should probably handle all of it. They have a say to handle all of it, but okay. Now Buck's comment is, maybe we can get it down 4 extra feet, but I mean, that's up to the
Well, I mean,
the commission. And
okay.
I would just add that I take seriously the point that this, as you guys know, is pretty far from the main road in the city. And anything to heighten the visibility of it with an attractive sign is, I personally would say is a good thing and worth the extra 4 feet. But
And my understanding is that the master plan is in itself sort of outdated, but nobody wanted to really redo the whole thing.
Right.
So, there may be other people that come to us with the variance, and we do have to look at those and possibly grant them if the master plan was outdated. So I don't really have a problem with this. Plus, it's an ad, I mean, it advertises Helotes. I mean, we've got our windmill and everything. It's like, welcome.
Right, that is our, it incorporates our logo.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
it's not
on
like
our-
it's saying burger
It's a
and
burger.
fries,
Right.
it's like, it enhances our town, yeah. No, it's not drive-through.
at this point, I would invite a motion.
Not yet.
As this would be, that we had to talk, there was no commentary about exterior lighting or the site plan. And I assume everybody was comfortable with that. If we could do this as one motion, that would be terrific. And I do note for the record, just to make sure everybody's aware of it, that the sign is going to be lit, correct?
Yes.
So it is an
Back to-
Okay, this is-
internal lighting
Okay.
for the sign.
Okay, I'll do a motion to recommend the granting of the request by Helotes Economic Development Corporation for approval of a conceptual design plan pursuant to Municipal Code of Ordinances, Chapter 98 zoning, Article 9, architectural review by Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council for a change in exterior elevation and signage to the HEDC building located at 12682 FM 1560 West, Suite 105 to 106 and 106, Helotes, Texas 78023, more particularly described as BCAD prop ID number 240066, and including the following: A, site plan and building design, B, exterior lighting, and C, signage with 2 variances.
Would you state for the record what those variances are?
Yes, the size and the height.
Okay. That's good enough. Thank you.
As per the agenda.
As per the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Alex seconds that. Discussion of the motion, Ann or Alex,
No.
or anyone else?
I think it's a significant improvement to a building, prominent building in the city, which really needs its full day. I think it's a good move.
The motion is to recommend approval of the request by the Helotes Economic Development Corporation for conceptual design plans pursuant to Code of Ordinances, Chapter 98 zoning, Article 9 architectural review by the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council for a change in exterior elevation to the HEDC building 12682 FM 1560 West Suites 105 and 106, including site plan, building design, exterior lighting, and signage with 2 variances for size and height per the agenda. All in favor, please signal aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved. And which date will this go to council?
This one's gonna go August 22nd.
22nd for city council. All right, that does bring us to the end of the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor of adjourning, signal aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 7:55. Please catch your lights. Thank you all very much. Michael, would you like the,
Be safe on your trip.